All right. Yep, here we are. We are alive for another Wellbeing Wednesday. I am so excited to see you all here. Well, know that you all are here. As you are joining us, please let us know who is here by just shouting out in the comments. We always love the interaction during these times. If this is your first time, welcome. And if it is not your first time watching one of these Wellbeing Wednesdays, or welcome back. So we are here for another Wellbeing Wednesday. This is the monthly segment that shows childcare providers and caregivers like yourselves simple ways to support your own well-being, because truly taking care of ourselves is in fact taking care of others. Whether you're an early childhood educator, a director, a parent, or someone who just feels like a parent some days, you are sure to pick up tidbits of actionable advice on how to support your overall holistic well-being and get back to feeling like yourself. I'm your host, Susanna Creed, with the Be Well, Care Well Arkansas program, which is a curricular concepts program that's all about supporting the well-being of our childcare providers. We have Kelley Beth Paul with us today, and we'll get into a great conversation with her in just a moment. So this month, we're focusing on the great outdoors and finding ways to get outside to enjoy the longer, warmer days to come. Now, given today, if you're in Little Rock, North Little Rock, it's a little bit cloudy and rainy, but it will be, getting warmer. So we really want to start to kind of come out of our cocoons and our hibernation and our shells and see, how do we get outside? And a lot of us, are pressed for time, or maybe we're like, we don't do outdoors, but I know it's really healthy for me and good for me. How do I do this? So we're going to talk about some quick, easy, and free ways to enjoy nature. And I'm so excited to talk about some of those today. So before I get started, I do want to give a quick shout out to Kelley and give her a little bit more of an introduction. So I am super excited to welcome Kelley Beth Paul with us. She is a true Arkansas native who loves the outdoors. She has a bachelor's degree in, hold on to your seats, environmental, soil, and water science from the U of A, and an associate's degree, because one was not enough for her, in environmental management. So she's a teacher naturalist at the Ozark Natural Science Center up in Northwest Arkansas. She's been doing that for the past 2 years. And she's also, I did not know that this was a thing, but she is also a snake ambassador through the Ozark Natural Science Center. So if you've heard of that before, please comment below. But for me, I was like, that is so cool. I had no idea. So without further ado, Kelley Paul, let's get into this and see, what can we do to get outdoors more, and what tips do you have for us?
Hi, yes. So like Susanna said, yes, I was born and raised in Fayetteville, Arkansas. So if you live in Northwest Arkansas, you live in the Ozarks. So the Ozarks are our home. And that's really just being outdoors has just been truly amazing. It opens up my eyes to new things. It really makes you wonder. You can be observant. But I do have a outdoor specific activity that you guys can do. So at Ozark Natural Science Center, our mission is to enhance the understanding, appreciation, and the stewardship of the Ozark environment. And on our website at ONSC.us, we do have a lot of PowerPoints based on our topics of the Ozark environments. So we have PowerPoints that go from decomposition to nature writing, all the way up to ornithology, which is the study of birds. And all of our PowerPoints you can download phones, your iPads. I know a lot of people say that technology doesn't belong outside, but in these cases, it actually does, because it can help you learn. And so what you can do is, let's see. So whenever you go outside, you can just take your iPad, your phone, and we have different topics. So say you choose forces of nature. So in Little Rock, if it's raining, we have a PowerPoint just about water. So how it can shape your environment, how it can shape the world. And then if you're, say, in Fayetteville or Huntsville, like today, it's very sunny outside. There's a lot of birds out. And we do have a PowerPoint about ornithology. And then if you're not quite sure what plants or animals are around you, I know it can be kind of overwhelming because we do have a lot of native plants and animals. So let's see, we have Arkansas Game and Fish on their website. They have free downloadable field guides. So field guides, like pocket guides. So they're going to have little photos of the plants, animals. They're also going to have some descriptions as well, like where you can find it, how big they can get, their coloration, everything. So those are free on their website. And then say if you love birds, you love ornithology, there's the Audubon Society. They also have downloadable bird calls for your state. So you can just go outside, stand out there, be a little bit silent for a while, and actually try to call birds to yourself. I've done it before. We actually have an ornithologist on staff at ONSC, and sometimes she and I will just stand outside silently and just try to call these birds. And it's amazing the fact that these birds will actually come to you because they're so inquisitive. So
I
just
want
being
birds to come to
outside
me.
and uh,
In my own personal Snow White story of just like, you sing and then they like come to you
yeah,
and they'll just perch and then they help you do chores. Ideally, that's later on in the lesson, I'm assuming.
yeah. So I love that you brought. So we had the pleasure of rehabilitating a baby squirrel out here at my work at ONSC. So we were cutting down some invasive species and they actually fell out of their nest. But we were able to successfully rehabilitate her. It was really a pleasure and such an eye-opening experience that I would never have the chance to do if I didn't work here. But she's happy and healthy. We released her back into the wild, but she still comes up and says hello. And I feel like that's because she remembers where her food comes from. And so I was feeding her. I just give her a little pile of sunflower seeds and she eats it by herself. I don't try to pet her anymore because she is a wild animal now. But two people came up to me and they were just in awe that there is a squirrel letting me feed it. And they actually called me Snow White. They were like, "Are you Snow White? You just talk to animals all the time?" I was like, I it'd be amazing. I love
Right.
that
It's
you
like
brought
that
that
would be
up.
the dream. The dream is first to befriend the animal, second to have them understand singing commands, and then the third is to have them sing while they help you with the chores. It's like a three-step process, but that's so awesome. I have to say, some people are not fans of squirrels. I personally love squirrels. Like one of my favorite ways, and this is just because like a lot of what I do is on a computer right now. And so I have to kind of like make the effort to go outside, which kind of sounds really sad when I say it out loud, but even just to get a little bit of nature in my visual sight and just kind of experience it, like right now I moved closer to my window where I can very clearly see a lot of nature, and I can pause and I can look at the birds out there and the squirrels, and so it's like a nice way for me to get some of those benefits, even if like I'm busy on a computer or maybe I don't have time to get outside or don't feel like I have time to get outside. That's, I don't know, one of the little ways, but I see a lot of squirrels and a lot of cardinals recently, and I wish I could be Snow White and all that. That's how that all related.
So, and let's go on that topic. It is hard to get outside, especially if you're working from home or say you're working in an office building and you can't open up your windows like you could at your house. So I actually graduated in 2020. So right whenever COVID hit is whenever I graduated. So it's just a very awkward time
Hmm.
to just my school reached out and said, "Hey, we're shutting down. You have about 2 weeks to figure out your options with your school and good luck." So it was a very difficult time, but what I found that I loved that came from that situation was that I was able to learn outside. So I was able to just go outside, go on my deck, take my laptop, have my Wi-Fi and do my studies while being outside, which is kind of what I'm doing right now is I'm outside so that I can hear what's around me. Like, I don't know if you guys can hear in the background, but there's a couple of birds that have been chirping back and forth. But
Hmm.
to me, it just makes me feel better, if you're kind of in a sluggish mood, to just go outside when it's sunny and you can do your work as well. But I know for those that actually work in offices, that is pretty difficult. So some things that I've actually done with my apartment is I have some little hanging vases that you can hang up in your windowsill. So if you have a window, you could do that. Or you could hang up a sun catcher, or you could just have some little plants in your window to kind of bring some of that outdoors into your office space to kind of make it more, it feels that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's one of those things that I have definitely done a little bit more as time has gone on. Um, just like I'm even looking now at two plants that I have. If you are not a plant person, but you want to try, at least for me, like things that have been really, here's one that's really fun. Green onions from the grocery store. Y'all, you just cut off most of the green part and you put that sucker in water and it will grow. Now, I am great with them in water. I'm not great with them once I get in the soil. So I don't know about, I have no recommendation on keeping them alive if you want to transfer them to soil, but it's so much fun to just like walk by it. And literally every time you walk by, it's a little bit bigger. And so like, that's a really fun way to make nature exciting and just enjoyable and fun to be like, oh, I visually see the progress. So, I don't know. That's one of those things where it's like bringing the outdoors in that I was thinking about.
Exactly. And we talked a little earlier, but say you're a person that just does not like the outdoors. So I really get into the outdoors until I was about 22 or 23. So that's kind of a late start for me. And that's at that age is whenever I changed my major. So I was a nursing student prior to that. And then I just found myself working these long hour shifts, staring out the window, wishing I was outside. And I said, hey, that's kind of a sign to change my major to the outdoors. But if you're not an outdoorsy person, but you still want to get some of that interaction, I mean, whenever you're driving to work, you can just roll down your windows, roll down the sunroof. That way you can have some sunshine. You can feel the
Yeah.
wind on your way to work, or even just walking from your car to your office. Just try to turn off your thoughts and just listen. Just walk into your office silent and, get ready for your day, really. But those are some little things for people. I don't necessarily want to be outside with all the bugs and, I understand that. Not everybody loves wasps or bees or insects, and they kind of want to stay away from them, which is fine. But there are some plants that you can have in your garden to help keep away those insects. Like you can plant.
Ooh, tell us.
Yes. Yes. So you can plant, say, citronella. You can plant that in your garden. If anybody drinks tea, I put certain tea leaves that I'm done with after steeping my tea. I put them in my garden to help keep away the pests and insects. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. So I would suggest if you're really interested in plants and native plants, just their overall usage, I would really research into some foraging books in the state of Arkansas. There's a lot of good foraging books.
Foraging. Yes. Okay, so it's one of those terms like I think I know what it is, but now that I'm actually about to try to word it out, I really can't think of it. So how would you describe what foraging is and like why are you recommending foraging books for Arkansas?
Yeah, so foraging is essentially going out and searching for, say, like a plant and bringing it back. So like at ONSC, we have a mycology workshop that's coming up. And mycology, so that'd be like mushrooms, fungus. And so their job during that workshop is to go out into the outdoors, go out on our trails, look for these edible mushrooms and funguses and bring them back with them, and then making a meal from that. So that's kind of another way to really get yourself outdoors. is to get a foraging book or a book about edible plants and then going out looking for them. But yeah, so we have a
Okay.
workshop coming. So everybody's welcome. You just go onto our website, click on our events. You can sign up for it. But it is a blast and it's for a full weekend. You get to do that.
I'm trying to find that now. Oh, it's on
Yeah.
events. That's right.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of events like that coming up. Um, Also, if you're really trying to get to the outdoors, but you're not quite sure, and if you love primitive skills, so skills that you work on to help you survive in the outdoors. So we do have a workshop for primitive skills coming up where you can come out here, you can learn to build a shelter, you can learn what plants you can eat, cannot eat. So it's really about finding what interests you and connect
Hmm.
that into getting you outside. So
That
which
is awesome.
yeah, if you love art, we do have art projects. So whenever we have kids that come out here, adults that come out here for hikes, we'll ask them to find something on the trail, bring it back with them, and then create art with it. Or if it's just gluing it to your paper, that's
Yeah.
fine. Back a flower or a rock that you want to paint and show it to everybody, that works as well. So exactly, it's just finding about what interests you. And so what really interested me with the outdoors was snakes. So that is how I became the snake ambassador out here at my job. So the snake ambassador is really somebody that cares for the snakes, looks at their well-being, and so that would entail like making sure their temperature is the correct temperature, their humidity levels are correct, they're feeding,
Hmm.
even sometimes having to take them to the vet. That happens too. So believe it or not, our snakes do go to the vet every once in a while if they need to. But yeah, so it's just kind of finding what you love. And that's how I found it was I loved snakes and amphibians, and that's what got me a little bit more into the outdoors and exploring, was looking for those animals. I mean, do you have an animal that you might want to look for outdoors, explore more about?
I'm curious to see if anybody has this in the comments. But I, I'm not sure actually. I like a lot of animals. One, I love the idea of snakes, especially if like they're not gonna really bite me or be deadly if they bite me. Like just letting them kind of wrap themselves around me. I had a snake birthday party when I was a kid. So
Oh my,
that was fantastic. Yeah, it was snakes and like this was before I guess I was afraid of spiders. I had like three tarantulas on me and like a 10-foot snake like going through me and like my friend's shirts and we're just like holding on to it. We're like, yeah, we were 10. So, we're like, this is cool. But yeah, I don't
yes.
know.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
I'm trying
kind
to
of
see if
thinking
there's.
about, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go for it.
Oh, so going back to that age, I've been noticing. So whenever I was younger, my parents did take me to nature camp out at Lake Fayetteville. There's a big building in the middle of Lake Fayetteville, and they would take us out on trails. And I thought it was the most coolest thing ever. But then there was somewhere in between being a kid and an adult, something switched, and I started to become more afraid of snakes, spiders, insects in general. And I think it was because I wasn't experiencing the outdoors like I used to. So
Mm,
since I wasn't
mm-hmm.
much, I really just got a fear of them. And so whenever I
Yeah.
came to work out at ONSC, I was able to get rid of that fear once again because you're really immersed in nature out here. I live on site, so I live out in the woods. So you can't escape it. But that did help me overcome my fears again of snakes and spiders and bees and wasps and everything. And it's pretty funny because now I go searching for those insects and animals. But
That's
yeah, if it
awesome though.
Yeah, so it is interesting. I have noticed a little bit of a gap with that. So I think again, it's just not letting yourself be outdoors is kind of
Hmm.
fear for some people about certain animals.
Yeah, definitely get that. And Sarah Paul is cracking me up right now because apparently there's going to be a snake party for me. I honestly, I'm still down for that. Like that sounds great.
Yeah.
Just to be able to, hold snakes. And I'm not gonna lie, there's something in me. I don't know why. I guess it's like the way that how do I say it? It's the way that I've gotten interested in like survival skills in my mind. Again, this is not really because I think it's happening, but I'm like, if there was a zombie apocalypse, I want to be able to have the skills to survive said zombie apocalypse. So what goes into that? Like those primitive skills, you know?
Mhm.
And so when you said that, I was like, oh, zombie survival class. Yes, I want to do that.
Yeah,
So, and
exactly.
it's, I love it though. It's about following your interests, like you said. And it's funny you talk about well-being, like, caring for the well-being of the snakes and like so many different things. Like sometimes they have to go to the doctor, sometimes, you need to check their temperature. And it's like several different things. And honestly, so one of our Be Well Care Well coaches, she's up in Northwest Arkansas, so she's up in your area. So you might be hearing from her. But she we do well-being coaching for early care and education workers. So people who are working with the youngest children in our state, and we're kind of doing something similar. I mean, obviously, we're not necessarily taking everyone's temperature, and we're not necessarily taking them to the doctor, but we're talking about those types of things and saying, how are you doing in these areas and all this other stuff. Like today, even, people might think, well, how does the outdoors relate to my well-being? How does that relate to this work? And really it's very related because it's the environmental aspect of our well-being. What is the environment we're surrounding ourselves in? And also, I mean, study upon study upon study has shown that just exposure to nature reduces stress, and so it so correlates as well. And I think even one of our coaches mentioned, oh, I'm going to mess it up, but I think it's like a hiking passport or something for the state of Arkansas. I have to remember
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Yes, exactly.
But do you know what I'm talking about?
First, yes, there is one for
Okay.
state parks. Hmm.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing. And I was like, oh, I got to get that. My boyfriend and I love to hike. So we might be coming up to your area soon on that.
Yeah,
Eh,
yeah. We have about 8 miles worth of trails out here, hiking trails. So a lot of opportunity to find anything. I mean, especially now because it's springtime. But I wanted to go back to what was it you said about like anxiety and nature a little
mhm.
bit with
Mhm.
a little bit off topic, or at least not about a human, but my dog Adler, he's a rescue, and I got her whenever I moved out here at ONSC because I got an apartment, so I was able to have an animal.
Mhm.
And so her out here, and she would just hide and cower in the corner of my apartment because she was just so frightened and so full of anxiety. But then whenever she and I started to go out on hikes, I noticed that she did start to open up a little bit more and a little bit more. And she was almost fearless. I call her mountain dog because she just climbs everything. It's so funny. But you do start to see people's attitude change whenever they're
Yeah.
outside. So if we morning, and it's very easy to tell if somebody or something has anxiety. Their attitude changes a little bit. They could just be a little like more silent. They're not as talkative. And so this morning I saw her that her attitude was changing. So I was like, hey, you know what? Let's just drop what we're doing and we're going to make time for this because it is important for your well being. So we just take time, we go outside, and then she's all happy and she's great. And so And that goes for adults and children. You have to make time for that. And it could just be being outside for about 5 or 10 minutes, and that's all it takes.
That's like, it's funny. I knew this, but it didn't connect in my brain. But I mean, like, you can just see it in an animal, how being
Hmm.
outside and getting, and also, I mean, one, it's free to just get outside. Two, it's combining physical movement as well a lot of times, even if it's just, I'm gonna open the door to my porch and go sit outside. That's still 5, 10 more steps than if you didn't. And being outside just has this calming effect on animals. So why would we think that it wouldn't have the same effect on us? And sometimes we think it's like, okay, I got to get into camping and all this stuff. And it's like, no, actually, just like you said, take the 5 minute walk, you know? Um, so I think it's just really, really great. Um, and this has been an awesome conversation. And um and people are commenting on the zombie apocalypse skills. Hopefully that primitive skills class would definitely be helpful. I would want to be one of the first picks on a
Yeah.
team. That's where my competitive nature comes in. And then we have some people commenting that they like spotting deer as well. So we've gotten a couple of really great comments um, as well here. And also, I've shared Kelley's information as well as the website for the Ozark Natural Science Center. And also, I'm going to share, if anybody wants to learn more about Be Well, Care Well, the information is in the comments below. But are there any last questions? I want to see if anybody who's on with us has any last questions before we pop off and close out for today. And while we're seeing if anybody has anything, do you have any last thoughts that you want to make sure that you share that we haven't touched on yet?
Sure. Yeah. So one other thing that I wanted to touch on was, say that you're not really interested in going outside, how to bring it back inside. We touched a little bit on that, but I wanted to add that you can also cook with what you find outside. So, like, I love lavender and chamomile. So last night I was feeling a little bit anxious, kind of having trouble going to sleep. So I stayed up and I actually baked lavender cupcakes, and then I made a lavender icing. So delicious, but I just want people to realize that you can bring those plants in if you wanted to have a basil plant, and you can incorporate that into your cooking as well. That way, you're showing love to the plant, you're helping it grow, and then you're putting it back into your food and giving love into your food. So that's just another
Yeah,
way to bring the outside.
that is so awesome. I love that. Oh, we do have one last quick question before we sign off. Can you tell everyone how to schedule hikes for little ones and what ages would be
Mhm.
ideal to visit the Ozark Natural Science Center?
Yeah, so we do offer guided hikes. We do like for them to at least be groups of 10. And so I've had kids at the youngest age of 3 out here. And I've actually, so what you can do to go to schedule a guided hike is you can email myself, or I also gave the information to the program manager, and she's the
Hmm.
one that will your guided hikes. But yeah, so I had a young girl, age of 3, and we found a ringneck snake. They're very, very tiny. And it was just so amazing seeing her interact with it in such a positive way. Like, it was the highlight of her life. And I was like, oh, you've only lived for about 3 years, and I can't wait to see what she continues to do. But yeah, so youngest age I've had out here was 3. And the oldest I've had out here.
That's awesome.
And then, of course, parents, even if you don't have kids, you're still welcome to come out here and have a guided hike if you'd like. Or our trails are open to the public and they're free. So you can come and get a trail map and hike it yourself if you'd like.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kelley, for joining us today and just for sharing all of your personal experience and your little tips and tricks about kind of how we can either build on our love of nature or maybe befriend nature for the first time. So As we close out, I want to do a quick special shout out to our partners at U of A's Early Care and Education Projects. They are the ones who help bring Be Well, Care Well, and thus Wellbeing Wednesday to Arkansas. Please make sure to follow Curricular Concepts on Facebook and Instagram so you don't miss a thing. If you like today's show, share it with your family, friends, and coworkers. And if you're a child care provider and want to learn more about enrolling in Be Well, Care Well, you can visit the website that is in the comments down below. This has been another Wellbeing Wednesday. We will be back here the first Wednesday in May. I am your host, Susanna Crete, and I'm wishing you well. Bye, everyone.
Bye.